Do you think dinosaurs truly disappeared? The familiar story always ends here. A massive cosmic impact wiped out 99% of all dinosaur species. But that's only half the truth. The story of what happened next, about the buried 1% of secrets, will completely change how you see the world. We're about to uncover that secret together, exploring a world you thought was gone, but is, in reality, still alive all around you. To understand this, we need to step back. There wasn't just one catastrophe. There were two. Before the infamous asteroid arrived, another geological disaster had been silently unfolding for thousands of years. We often think of Earth as this stable, unchanging home. But it's really a giant, churning engine. Deep within our planet's mantle, a hot spot was forming under what we now call India. This wasn't a normal volcano. This was a super-volcano event, and its eruptions at the Deccan Traps poured millions of tons of toxic gas into the atmosphere. It was a slow-motion disaster, a cosmic gut punch that lasted for millennia. Imagine you're standing with a herd of dinosaurs in what is now Montana, feeling the universe's vastness under a clear, starlit sky. Suddenly, the sky begins to change. It's not one big event, but a gradual, creeping sickness. The sky turns a hazy, sickly yellow. This is the first wave of the Deccan Traps poison, sulfur dioxide, which triggers a climate crisis. This gas mixes with atmospheric water to form sulfuric acid rain, which would have been like a slow-motion acid wash for the entire planet. Forests began to wither, oceans became more acidic, and the food chain started to fray at the edges. This wasn't the dramatic, fiery end we often picture. It was a silent, creeping horror. It was like a sick patient, already weak and feverish, who suddenly has to endure a marathon. The planet's immune system, its delicate ecosystem, was already under attack. This geological disaster, this first catastrophe, had already disrupted the food chain, weakened the populations, and created an unstable, stressed world. The dinosaurs weren't just living their lives. They were fighting a war of attrition against an invisible enemy. The asteroid didn't kill all the dinosaurs. It only finished off a kingdom already in decline. It was the cosmic final blow. But the foundation was already crumbling. Here's a big question. Could dinosaurs have survived if their world hadn't been weakened first? But the story isn't over. 99% are gone, but one truth still lives on today. Are you curious about it? Comment volcano if you think this is a bigger threat than the asteroid, and we'll explore it together. What happened in that moment, and how the world changed, will be our next story. This wasn't an isolated event, but a domino effect of cosmic proportions. The dinosaurs were a bit like a team playing a championship game, but their star players were already injured, and their home stadium was on fire. The asteroid was just the final whistle. The real story is about how they got so weak in the first place, and it all starts with a volcano. The air grows heavy, thick with the smell of sulfur and dust. You look up, not into the clear, beautiful cosmos you'd find stargazing at Yellowstone, but into a sky that is now a bruised, sickly yellow-gray. The world is changing, and you can feel it in your very bones. This isn't the drama of a Hollywood disaster movie. This is a slow, creeping horror that lasted for tens of thousands of years. The eruptions at the Deccan Traps weren't a single event, but a continuous outpouring of lava and toxic gases, a geological wound that refused to heal. It was as if the Earth itself had a nasty fever and couldn't stop coughing. Think about the air we breathe today. It's what sustains us. But what if it suddenly turned against you? That's what happened to the dinosaurs. The Deccan Traps pumped millions of tons of sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. The sulfur dioxide mixed with water vapor to create acid rain so corrosive it would have stripped leaves from trees and poisoned freshwater lakes. This wasn't just a few bad storms. This was a global acid shower that lasted for generations. It was a silent killer, slowly weakening the planet's ability to sustain life. But that's not all. The initial effect of the volcanic aerosols was a volcanic winter. The tiny particles and droplets in the atmosphere blocked out the sun, plunging the Earth into a chilling twilight. It would have felt like a permanent, dreary autumn, with cold, gray days and frigid nights. This cooling was disastrous for plant life, which relies on sunlight to grow. The great fern forests and towering sequoia-like trees that fed the herbivores began to wither and die. And as their food source vanished, so did the great sauropods that relied on them. It's a bit like a giant cosmic game of Jenga. Pull out one key piece, the plants, and the entire tower of life starts to wobble. This isn't a story of brave heroes and quick escapes. It's a story of ecological collapse. The dinosaurs were caught in a trap of their own planet's making. The carbon dioxide, in a cruel twist of fate, would eventually lead to a global warming event after the initial cooling faded. The planet was swinging wildly between extremes, a sick patient with a high fever, followed by freezing chills. This unstable climate, combined with the poisoned air and acidic oceans, created a world that was barely hanging on by a thread. Here's a quirky fact. The sheer amount of lava spewed from the Deccan Traps was enough to bury the entirety of the United States under a layer of rock over 600 feet deep. It was a continent-sized wound on the planet, and the scars it left behind would have been a constant reminder of the slow-motion apocalypse. Imagine watching that, day after day, in your version of a national park. The sky getting darker, the air getting worse. It's a chilling thought, and it makes you realize just how fragile life is, even on a planet as seemingly robust as Earth. So, with the food chain broken and the climate in chaos, the stage was set. The dinosaurs were not just a thriving kingdom suddenly struck down. They were a population already in crisis, already on the brink. This makes the arrival of the asteroid less of a surprise attack and more of a coup de grace. It was the final, brutal act in a story that had been building for millennia. Imagine you're a dinosaur. What's your biggest fear right now? A predator? No. The unknown. The slow, inexorable decline of everything you've ever known. Share your fear in the comments. The story of how this world, already on its knees, was about to face its final, fiery moment is coming up next. The world is holding its breath. The initial shock of the volcanic eruptions has passed, but the planet is still reeling. We've seen the sky turn to ash and the air fill with poison, but the effects of this slow-motion catastrophe were much deeper and more insidious. The Earth itself was a feverish patient, a once vibrant ecosystem now fighting for its life. This wasn't just a bad season or a difficult century. It was a fundamental weakening of the planet's ability to support life. The world was on a razor's edge, and every part of the food chain was fraying. Imagine the planet as a massive, intricate machine. Every gear and lever is interconnected. The Deccan Traps event was like a wrench thrown into the gears. The acid rain we talked about earlier didn't just strip leaves, it also sterilized huge swaths of land and acidified the oceans. This was a death blow to marine life. especially the plankton and other tiny organisms that form the base of the ocean's food chain. When the bottom falls out, everything above it collapses too. It's a cascading disaster. A domino effect where the largest pieces, the giant marine reptiles and ammonites, were the first to fall. The climate instability was equally devastating. The back and forth between a cold volcanic winter and the eventual global warming from all that carbon dioxide was a 1-2 punch that few species could endure. Picture it. You're a dinosaur, a creature designed to thrive in a warm, stable climate. One minute you're shivering in a perpetual twilight, and the next you're sweltering in a humid, toxic greenhouse. It would be like trying to run a marathon while someone keeps switching the thermostat from freezing to boiling. Your body simply couldn't adapt fast enough. This brings us to a historical fact. For decades, scientists debated whether the asteroid or the Deccan Traps was the primary killer. We now understand that it wasn't one or the other. It was a combination of both. The volcanoes created the conditions for a mass extinction, and the asteroid delivered the final, fatal blow. The dinosaurs were like a boxer who had already taken a dozen body shots and was barely standing. The asteroid was the knockout punch. In a more stable, healthier world, it's possible that some dinosaur population could have survived the impact and recovered. But on a sick planet, there was nowhere left to hide. The story of the sick planet is a powerful one, and it shows us just how fragile our world is. The dinosaurs, for all their size and power, were ultimately at the mercy of their own planet's geology. And so are we. The next time you visit a national park like Yellowstone and marvel at the geysers and bubbling hot springs, remember that this powerful geology is the same force that once brought the world to its knees. Would you prefer to face a fast end or a slow decline? A quick, decisive extinction event or a long, drawn-out environmental collapse? Let us know in the comments. The stage is set, the planet is weak, and the cosmic final blow is just moments away. The world is a tinderbox, and you can feel the tension in the air. The sky is still hazy from volcanic ash. The oceans are growing more acidic, and the planet's great ecosystems are on the verge of collapse. Then, you see it. A searing, impossible light fills the sky, growing from a point of light to a monstrous, world-swallowing inferno. This is not the slow, creeping doom of the volcanoes. This is a single, horrifying, world-shattering instant. This is the Chicxulub asteroid, an object about 6 miles wide, hurtling toward Earth at an unbelievable speed. If you were stargazing in the US and saw this coming, you'd have less than a second to comprehend what was happening before the end. It's the ultimate cosmic gut punch. The moment of impact was almost beyond comprehension. The asteroid struck the Yucatan Peninsula, creating a crater over 90 miles wide and 12 miles deep. The energy released was equivalent to billions of atomic bombs. This wasn't just a big explosion, it was a fundamental alteration of the planet. A shockwave of unimaginable force ripped across the globe, incinerating everything in its path. The blast was so powerful it would have been heard, if anything could survive to hear it, on the other side of the planet. It sent a tsunami of monstrous proportions across the oceans and triggered earthquakes of a magnitude we can only guess at. But the real killer wasn't the initial blast, it was what came after. The impact vaporized vast amounts of rock, sending a fiery plume of superheated material into the atmosphere. This debris, a combination of molten rock and vaporized asteroid, rained back down across the planet's surface. As it re-entered the atmosphere, it turned the sky into a furnace, heating the air to oven-like temperatures. This was the moment that truly sealed the dinosaurs' fate. It's like the universe suddenly turned on a global broiler, toasting any creature not lucky enough to be buried underground or protected by water. Forest fires of a scale we can't even imagine raged across the continents, burning what the acid rain and volcanic cold hadn't already killed. Here's a quirky fact. The rock where the asteroid hit was rich in sulfur. When the impact vaporized that rock, it released even more sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere, creating a second volcanic winter, far more extreme and fast-acting than the one caused by the Deccan Traps. It was a perfect, terrible storm of cosmic and geological forces. The initial blast may have been 1 second of terror, but the consequences, the years of darkness, cold, and famine that followed, were the true killers. The dinosaurs, already weakened and vulnerable, had no chance. The story of the impact is more than just a catastrophic event. It's a lesson in cosmic timing. The asteroid didn't kill all the dinosaurs by itself. It arrived at the exact moment the planet was at its most vulnerable, turning a bad situation into an extinction-level event. The dinosaurs' reign ended not with a bang, but with a horrifying crescendo of fire, darkness, and cold. Comment "Boom" to show you're ready for the big impact. The next chapter of our story is about what was left behind and the secrets a buried world holds. The dust settles. The roaring fires have faded to smoldering embers, and the monstrous tidal waves have receded, leaving a new, unrecognizable world in their wake. You stand in a graveyard of giants. The reign of the dinosaurs is over, but this isn't the final chapter. It's the beginning of a new one. The very act of this cataclysmic event, while wiping out 99% of all life, also created the perfect conditions to preserve the memory of what was lost. The buried world began to form, a silent, fossilized record waiting to be uncovered. Imagine the sheer scale of the event. The impact, the fires, the tsunamis, all of it churned up and redeposited incredible amounts of sediment, ash, and organic matter. This wasn't a gentle burial. It was a violent, rapid entombment. A quirky fact: this rapid burial is why we have such a rich fossil record from this period. If the dinosaurs had just slowly died out, their remains would have been scattered and eaten. But the suddenness of the event meant they were sealed away, almost perfectly preserved in rock. These fossils aren't just bones. They're snapshots of a frozen moment in time, a final cosmic photo album of the late Cretaceous period. You can almost feel the stories trapped in the rock. From the famous Hell Creek Formation in Montana and the Dakotas to the deserts of New Mexico, these places are like vast, open-air libraries of the past. When you walk through these landscapes, you're not just seeing rocks and dirt, you're seeing the final resting place of a Tyrannosaurus rex, the last moments of a Triceratops, and the fossilized ferns that once fed them. It's a humbling thought, a direct connection to a world that was lost 66 million years ago. This is also where we see the resilience of life. While the dinosaurs perished, many smaller creatures, the early mammals, small birds, and insects, were able to burrow underground or find shelter from the initial heat and subsequent cold. They were the ones who inherited the earth. Their stories, too, are written in the rocks, often in the form of tiny, delicate fossils that are easy to miss but hold immense significance. The extinction of the dinosaurs wasn't an end. It was a cosmic reset button, giving a chance to the small, the quick, and the adaptable. So what do you think is the coolest dinosaur fossil ever found? Is it a complete T-Rex skeleton? Or maybe a perfectly preserved dinosaur egg? Share your thoughts below. The buried world is full of secrets, and as we uncover them, we learn not just about the past, but also about the incredible, persistent, and surprising power of life itself. The stage is set for a new kind of story to begin, a story of survival. The air, once thick with ash and sulfur, slowly begins to clear. The scorched earth, once a desolate wasteland, starts to show the first tentative signs of new life. The age of giants is over, but a new dawn is breaking. While the great dinosaurs perished, a diverse and resilient group of survivors was ready to inherit the earth. We're not talking about a handful of lucky creatures. We're talking about the ancestors of almost all modern life. This is the story of the quiet heroes who emerged from the wreckage, showing that life, in its most fundamental form, is an unstoppable force. Imagine you're an early mammal. You're small, no bigger than a mouse, and you've spent your entire life in the shadows, scurrying from the feet of colossal carnivores. Your world was one of fear, but it was also one of incredible adaptability. You were warm-blooded, which meant you could survive the cold of the volcanic winter. You were a generalist, not a picky eater, able to survive on insects, seeds, and whatever else you could scavenge. While the big dinosaurs needed massive amounts of food and specific habitats, you could hide in burrows, living off of what little was left. In a world defined by chaos, your small size and flexibility were your greatest strengths. This is a bit like a cosmic downsizing, where being small and efficient suddenly becomes the ultimate superpower. This story of survival isn't just about mammals. It's also about the birds. Here's a quirky fact. Many scientists now believe that the birds we see today are the direct descendants of the dinosaurs that survived the extinction event. They are the living legacy of a lost world. The raven you see flying over the Grand Canyon, the sparrow at your window in the suburbs of Ohio, they all carry the DNA of a T-Rex. They adapted, they evolved, and they diversified, taking to the skies in a world that was suddenly free of gigantic ground-based predators. It's a powerful and humbling thought. The dinosaurs didn't truly disappear. They just learned how to fly. The extinction event was a brutal, indiscriminate force, but it also opened up a vast ecological vacuum. The world, once dominated by a single group of animals, was now an open canvas for a new story to be written. The small survivors didn't just crawl out of the wreckage, they thrived. They spread into every corner of the planet, evolving and adapting at a dizzying pace. It was a new era, a chance for evolution to hit the reset button and create a staggering diversity of new life. Do you believe in second chances? The story of the KPG extinction is the ultimate testament to the power of a second chance. It's a story not just of death, but of incredible rebirth. The next time you see a bird or a small mammal, remember that you're looking at a living testament to this incredible tale of survival and resilience. Tell us what you think. The next chapter of our story is about how we can still see the scars of this ancient battle on our planet today. The dust has settled, the fires are out, and the small survivors are beginning to thrive. But the story of the dinosaur extinction isn't just buried beneath our feet. It's written into the very landscape of our planet. The scars of that ancient apocalypse are still here, telling their silent stories if you know where to look. They are reminders that the past isn't gone. It's a living, breathing part of the world around you. Imagine you're standing in a national park in the US, like Yellowstone. You're surrounded by geysers, hot springs, and bubbling mud pots. It's a place of incredible geological power and beauty. But this beauty is born from the same forces that once brought the world to its knees. Yellowstone is a super-volcano, a reminder of the kind of geological events that can reshape our planet in an instant. It's a powerful, tangible connection to the deep past, a place where you can feel the Earth's engine rumbling just beneath the surface. When you see the steam rising from the ground, you're not just seeing water vapor. You're seeing a direct echo of the Deccan Traps, the first catastrophe that set the stage for extinction. This connection to the past isn't just in places of dramatic geology. It's in the very rock layers of our planet. One of the most famous examples is the KPG boundary, a thin layer of sediment found all over the world. This layer is like a cosmic bookmark, marking the exact moment of the asteroid impact. It's rich in a rare element called iridium, which is abundant in asteroids, but not on Earth's surface. A historical fact. Luis and Walter Alvarez first proposed the asteroid impact theory in 1980, after discovering a huge spike in iridium in a clay layer at the boundary. This single discovery changed the entire scientific community's understanding of the event. It was the first solid piece of evidence that a cosmic visitor was the final killer. The KPG boundary is a physical scar, a line in the sand that separates the age of dinosaurs from the age of mammals. You can find this boundary in places from Spain to New Jersey, a global testament to a shared moment of planetary terror. It shows us that while the dinosaurs are gone, their story is still a part of our planet's physical history. It's a reminder that we are all living on a planet with a long, violent, and fascinating past. We are, in a sense, living in a world shaped by that ancient catastrophe. The mountains, valleys, and even the fossil fuels we use today are all part of a world that was fundamentally changed 66 million years ago. So the next time you hike a trail, look at the layers of rock and think about the epic story they hold. Share a place where you felt connected to the deep past. Whether it's a national park, a museum, or a simple rock in your backyard, the story of the Earth is all around us. The most amazing part of this story is yet to come. The dinosaurs didn't truly disappear. They're still with us today, and they're closer than you think. The ancient scars of the KPG boundary and the rumble of a supervolcano may seem like a distant past, but the most amazing secret of all is this. Dinosaurs aren't gone. You see their descendants every single day. The story of the Great Extinction isn't just about what was lost. It's about what was saved, what evolved, and what continues to thrive right under our noses. This isn't a sci-fi movie or a quirky theory. It's one of the most stunning truths in modern science. Imagine you're at a bird feeder in your backyard. A cardinal lands on the perch, its vibrant red feathers a flash of life against the green. That cardinal is a dinosaur. The crow cawing on a telephone wire? A dinosaur. The humble chicken you might eat for dinner? Also a dinosaur. Here's a quirky fact. Scientists classify modern birds as avian dinosaurs, a direct evolutionary lineage that survived the mass extinction. In a sense, the dinosaur's final secret isn't a buried fossil or a hidden world. It's the world we live in, filled with creatures that carry their legacy. The survival of avian dinosaurs is a powerful testament to the unpredictability of evolution. While the giant, lumbering reptiles perished, the smaller, more agile, and more adaptable feathered dinosaurs thrived. Their ability to fly allowed them to escape the fires and tsunamis, and their varied diets allowed them to survive on seeds, insects, and whatever food sources were available in the post-apocalyptic world. They became the ultimate survivors, a living, breathing link to a lost world. This realization transforms our understanding of the dinosaur age. It's not a period that ended with a final, tragic bang. It's a period that transitioned into our own. The next time you see a pigeon in a city park or a hawk circling overhead, you're not just seeing a bird. You're seeing the living, breathing, and wildly successful descendants of the most dominant animal group in Earth's history. It's a humbling and awe-inspiring thought that a part of that ancient world is still with us, a ghost of the past inhabiting the present. So, what's the weirdest bird you've ever seen? Maybe it's an ostrich, which looks a lot like a velociraptor or a cassowary, with its menacing claw and colorful casque. Share your thoughts in the comments. The story of the dinosaurs' legacy is a powerful reminder that life is incredibly persistent, and its story is far from over. This enduring legacy also holds a critical warning for our own future, a topic we'll explore next. The story of the dinosaur extinction is far more than a historical tragedy. It's a profound cosmic warning for our own civilization. The chain of events that unfolded 66 million years ago, from a slow geological catastrophe to a sudden cosmic impact, reveals the incredible fragility of life on Earth. While we may feel powerful and advanced, the dinosaurs, in their own time, were the dominant species. Yet they were ultimately powerless against the forces of their own planet and the universe. Their story isn't just a tale of the past. It's a mirror reflecting our own potential future. The first lesson from the dinosaurs' demise is about environmental vulnerability. The Deccan Traps eruptions showed how a long-term, slow-motion environmental crisis can weaken an entire global ecosystem, making it susceptible to a final, fatal blow. We, too, are facing long-term environmental challenges, from climate change to ocean acidification. We often think in terms of decades or centuries, but the dinosaurs remind us that geological and ecological changes can unfold over millennia, with catastrophic consequences. Their story tells us that a planet in decline can't withstand a sudden shock. It's a bit like a person with a weakened immune system being more vulnerable to a common cold. The illness might be minor for a healthy person, but it can be deadly for someone already sick. The second lesson is about the unpredictability of the cosmos. The Chicxulub asteroid was a random event, a piece of cosmic debris that happened across Earth's path at the worst possible time. We live in a cosmic shooting gallery, a fact that Interstellar and other sci-fi films so often explore. While NASA and other space agencies are actively tracking near-Earth objects, the universe is vast, and a new threat could emerge at any time. The dinosaur story is a stark reminder that our existence is not guaranteed and that we must be prepared for the unexpected. A fun historical fact. NASA's first mission dedicated to planetary defense, the Double Asteroid Redirection Test, DART, was inspired in part by our understanding of events like the Chicxulub impact. The dinosaurs teach us that we need to be proactive, not just reactive, to cosmic threats. So, what do you think is the biggest threat facing humanity? Is it a slow-moving environmental disaster, a sudden cosmic impact, or something else entirely? Comment your thoughts below. The story of the dinosaurs' end is also the story of our beginning, and the final chapter is about celebrating their legacy and looking to our own future. You've seen how a geological catastrophe, lasting millennia, could weaken an entire planet. But this isn't just a historical lesson about dinosaurs. It's a mirror reflecting what's happening to our world today. We humans have become a geological force, capable of altering global climate and environment, much like the Deccan Traps once did. Imagine standing on a Florida beach, looking out at the ocean. Instead of toxic lava flows, you see coral reefs dying due to rising water temperatures and changing pH levels. This is our own version of ocean acidification, a slow-motion disaster eating away at the foundation of the marine food web. Just as the volcanoes made the dinosaurs' oceans toxic, human activity is making our oceans less hospitable to life. This is a clear warning from history, showing us that when the foundations of an ecosystem begin to falter, the entire system is at risk. And just as the dinosaurs faced a weakened world, we are also facing unprecedented challenges. We are losing species at an alarming rate, hundreds of times faster than the natural extinction rate. Scientists call this the sixth mass extinction. But this time, the cause isn't volcanoes or an asteroid. It's us. This loss of biodiversity weakens our planet's resilience, making it more fragile in the face of future shocks. Here's an incredible fact. Some scientists suggest that the secrets of the dinosaur extinction could offer us hope. They are studying what happened after the impact to understand how species survived and recovered. By exploring the mysteries buried in the KPG layer, we might learn how to rebuild ecosystems and preserve species. The story of the dinosaurs' destruction is also a story of survival. It teaches us that even after a catastrophe, life finds a way. The dinosaurs are gone, but their story is far from over. It isn't a tragic end, but a new beginning, a story of loss, survival, and rebirth that continues to shape our world. The extinction event wasn't the last chapter. It was a cosmic cliffhanger that set the stage for an entirely new epic. From the resilient survivors who inherited the Earth to the living descendants that fly in our skies today, the legacy of the dinosaurs is a powerful and unending story. This final part of our journey is about celebrating that legacy. The dinosaurs' story teaches us that life is persistent, adaptable, and incredibly resilient. Their extinction opened the door for mammals to evolve and thrive, ultimately leading to us. In a strange cosmic twist of fate, we owe our existence to the very catastrophe that wiped out the planet's former rulers. It's a humbling thought that our journey began in the rubble of another's. It's also a reminder that the universe is a place of constant change and renewal. What we see as an end is often just a transition to something new. So, let's reflect on what we've learned. We discovered that a slow-motion geological disaster weakened the planet, making it vulnerable to a sudden cosmic blow. We saw how a single, terrifying impact could turn the sky into a furnace and plunge the world into darkness. We explored how the fossils buried in the ground tell a tale of a lost world. We celebrated the small survivors who found a way to thrive in the chaos. And we marveled at the fact that dinosaurs still live on today, as the birds in our backyards. The story of the dinosaurs is a grand, sweeping narrative about the forces of nature and the incredible power of life to endure. This isn't just a story about the past, it's a story about the future. It's a story about us. As we look at the stars, we can feel that same sense of awe and wonder that a dinosaur might have felt, unaware of the cosmic bullet hurtling toward them. The story of the dinosaurs gives us perspective, showing us that our home is a fragile, precious thing in a vast and often dangerous universe. It reminds us to be good stewards of our planet and to never stop looking up, because the universe is full of mysteries waiting to be solved. Join us on our journey to uncover the universe's secrets. If you've enjoyed this exploration, please like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves a good mystery. Next, we dive into the monsters of deep space. We'll explore the mysteries of black holes. Don't miss it. The universe is waiting.